Welcome to the Lincoln City Council meeting of April 20th, 2026. Please be advised a copy of the Open Meetings Act is posted at the back of the chambers by the northwest door. Let us all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a short moment of silent meditation. Please remain standing if you are able. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The order of business of City Council is as follows. The clerk will call the items listed on the agenda. Under public hearing, anyone wishing to speak on an item must first register and sign in at the table located in the lobby. The council shall require any member of the public addressing the council to identify themselves, the name of any organization represented by such person, and their address, unless the address requirement is waived to protect the security of the individual. Each speaker should state whether they are speaking in favor of or in opposition to the item. Testimony is limited to 5 minutes per speaker. Anyone wishing to speak on an agenda item shall come forward after the clerk reads that item and the applicant has presented. After public comments, the applicant may make one short rebuttal. After all public hearings, the council will vote on resolutions and items listed under third reading. On the second and last Monday of the month, immediately prior to adjournment, anyone may speak on any issue not on the agenda for that date nor plan for a future agenda. We ask that all speakers strive for civility and allow the business of council to proceed unimpeded. Will the clerk please call the first item of business?
Our first item of business today is our consent agenda, sections 1 and 2.
All right, do we have any staff reports on the consent agenda items? Is there any member of the public that would like to comment on any items on the consent agenda? If so, please come forward now. Seeing none, we can proceed.
We can vote on these items. Item 1A is reappointing Liz Standish to the Star Tran Advisory Board for a term to expire April 3rd, 2029, introduced by Bowers.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Beckius. Any discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Bowers,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 1B is setting the Board of Equalization hearing date of Monday, May 11th, 2026 at 3 p.m. on the College View Maintenance Improvement District, Havelock Maintenance Improvement District, North 27th Street Maintenance Improvement District, South Street Maintenance Improvement District, University Place Maintenance Improvement District, and the West O Street Maintenance Improvement District, introduced by Duden.
So moved.
Second?
Second by Washington. Any discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Bowers,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. That concludes the consent agenda. We shall move on to Section 3, Public Hearing Liquor Resolutions. I'll call item 3A, Manager Application of Joseph Brown for Emmanuel Retirement Communities doing business as Landing at Williamsburg Village, located at 3500 Faulkner Drive.
All right, is the applicant here? Welcome. Just state your name and address and then tell us about the application.
Hi, good afternoon. John Sigmund, JOHN-SIGMON, General Counsel for Emmanuel Retirement Communities, here on behalf of the applicant, Joseph Brown. We are changing managers. Old manager left our organization and are assigning Joe Brown to that. He's completed all their trainings except the in-person hospitality training, which he's scheduled to go to on May 7th. So he's coordinated with the investigators, informed them, and they've been in touch. But otherwise, happy to answer any other questions on the application.
That was an awesome presentation.
Yeah. Council, any questions? No, pretty straightforward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it. Are there any members of the public who would like comment on this item, item 3A? If so, please come forward now. Seeing none, we can proceed.
I'll call item 3B, application of Fast Taco LLC doing business as Tipsy Tina's Taco Cantina for a special designated license to cover an outdoor area measuring approximately 20 feet by 100 feet at 800 Q Street on May 5th, 2026 from 2 p.m. to 11:55 p.m.
Joel Shasso, Gypsy Tina's Taco Cantina, 800 Q Street.
This is our Cinco de Mayo event that we'll be doing again. We've done it many years in a row. It's family friendly, face painting and llamas that you can get your picture taken with or pet. The balloon things, we'll have someone there. So it's open to the public and there's no cover charge, and anyone that wants to come can come. Any questions for me?
Council, any questions? Councilman Weber.
No questions other than, I think it could be a good idea to bring the llamas to council in the future, so that way we know what the event entails. But
Those
just
things
some
spit?
food for thought. Yeah,
Noted.
yeah.
Those things
Looking forward to
spit?
meeting them.
I do have one question for Sony, if I can. The Form 200, I am pretty close to up against the 7-day. Do you
Okay.
we send that right away?
I will check with my team and get that to you.
Outstanding. Assuming it's approved.
Yeah.
You guys might say no.
Sure. Council, any questions?
Weather.
right.
Have you ordered good weather?
I start watching that weather like 15 days in advance. Right now, it looks good.
Looks good.
Yes.
It's been chilly in the past.
It has been chilly in the past. We had rain one day. It just happens. We're Mother Nature's mercy.
Great.
Thank you.
All right, thanks for coming down.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Are there any members of the public like comment on item 3B? If so, please come forward now. Seeing none, we can proceed.
I'll call item 3C, application of Sidecar Cider LLC doing business as Cerro Cider for a special designated license to cover an outdoor area measuring approximately 10 feet by 10 feet at the Haymarket Farmers Market at 7th and P Streets from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. for the entire duration of the 2026 Haymarket Farmers Market session.
All right, is the applicant here? I've not seen anyone. Are there any members of the public like to comment on this item 3C? Seeing none, we can proceed.
I'll call item 3D, application of Kinkade Brewing Company LLC doing business as Sideshow Spirits for a special designated license to cover an outdoor area measuring approximately 15 feet by 15 feet at the Haymarket Farmers Market at 7th and P Street from 5 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. for the entire duration of the 2026 Haymarket Farmers Market season.
All right, the applicant's here. Please come forward. Are there any members of the public like to comment on this? Seeing none, we can proceed then.
I'll call item 3E, application of Jacob Thiessen, doing business as Hub Cafe for special designated licenses to cover an indoor area measuring approximately 30 feet by 30 feet and an outdoor area measuring approximately 200 feet by 170 feet at the Hub Farmers Market at 250 North 21st Street on May 6th, 13th, 20th, and 27th, June 3rd, 10th, 17th, and 24th, July 1st, 8th, 15th, 22nd, and 29th, August 5th, 12th, 19th, and 26th, and September 2nd, 9th, 16th, 23rd, and 30th of 2026 from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m.
Is the applicant here? If so, please come forward. Welcome.
Hello, thanks for having us. I am a coordinator for the applicant, Jacob and Crystal Thiessen, who actually have the liquor license for Hub Cafe. My name is Carla McCullough-Dittman. I'm the event coordinator for Hub Farmers Market. My husband, Doug, and I started the market 7 years ago in 2020. Just started as a small little CSA pickup for some of our farmer friends, and we've grown to about 29 vendors over the last several years. We are a food-only focused farmers market. We have live music, and Hubs have served food and drink out of the Jane Snyder Trail Center and that patio every year of the farmers market so far. So we're growing every year, and that's a great problem to have. We've become a beloved community event, family-friendly, free, open to the public, and bikeable, walkable, etc. And so basically what we are trying to do now is expand the area where people can have beer or wine, because that patio area is getting to be too full and not enough seating. So we are proposing in this application to fence the perimeter of Union Plaza in a similar way, not exactly the same as Hub and Soul. And then we can actually try to engage the amphitheater more, whereas in the past we really didn't even try to engage the amphitheater area because we didn't want people wandering down there as if it were Hub and Soul. So that's the idea. And first of all, I really want to show appreciation to Lincoln Parks and Rec. From the get-go, they have been extremely supportive of us with the use of Union Plaza and the amphitheater, and then this year coordinating with us on this SDL application in terms of setting up the fencing that we have available down there already. So And lastly, unless there are any other questions, I just want to please invite you to come down to the farmer's market this season. It runs every Wednesday, May through September. And I know a lot of you already do, so thank you for that in the past.
That's great. Council, any questions for the applicant? No? All right, appreciate it. Thanks for coming down.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks. Are there any members of the public like to comment on this? Item 3E, if so, please come forward now. Seeing none, we can proceed.
I'll call items 3F through 3J together. Application of Landshark Realty Group LLC doing business as Tanks Country. Yard Investments LLC doing business as Gate 25. Yin Family LLC doing business as Hero 88. And Homegrown Industries Lincoln doing business as Mellow Mushroom. And Landshark Realty Group LLC doing business as The Corner Bar for a special designated license to cover an outdoor area measuring approximately 74 feet by 308 feet at Canopy Street from R to Q Street on April 25th, 2026 from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m.
Are any of the applicants here? If so, please come forward. Are there any members of the public that would like to comment on items 3F through 3J? If so, please come forward now. Seeing none, we can proceed.
Mr. Chair, seeing no one else coming forward to talk about these liquor applications, I'd like to make a motion that we approve item 3A through the rest of the alphabet, 3J.
I'd second.
All right. Second by Weber. Any discussion?
Yes, sir.
Councilwoman Washington.
Thank you, Chair Carlson. First, I want to thank Sony for getting us the corrected map for this last SDL in the rail yard. And I just want to go on the record that this application did seem to be like very last minute, and there were multiple maps, and it didn't feel like there was as much coordination. And I just want to, again, to encourage the folks in the Rail Yard Entertainment District to coordinate with each other and to get the applications in earlier.
All right.
Thank you.
Council, any other questions or comments? All right. Then we can go ahead and proceed.
Beckius,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. That concludes section 3 of the agenda. We shall move on to section 4, public hearing resolutions. I'll call item 4A. Appeal by Lance C. Perez, approval of special permit 26008, allowing a residential health care facility for up to 12 residents at 929 South Cotner Boulevard.
Alrighty, would the applicant like to present?
Good afternoon, members of the council. Danae Kalkowski appearing today on behalf of Kindred Oaks LLC. My address is 1128 Lincoln Mall, Suite 105. Also appearing with me today is Travis Klein, one of the principals. And I'd like, Travis, you can give your address.
Yeah. Hello. Travis Klein, 410 Madison Circle, Cedar Creek, Nebraska.
And then also with us today are the other co-owners of the LLC, Tracy Klein, and then Andrew and Jennifer Voss. So they're all here today. We'd like to ask for just a little bit of extra time because both Andrew and I are going to present together, and then we'll both be available for questions that you might have. Let's go with yours. So we're here today because Kindred Oaks is requesting a special permit for 929 South Cotner to allow the residents to be used as a residential health care facility, specifically for assisted living and memory care. The site that we're talking about includes 0.58 acres. The home fronts on and takes access to South Cotner Boulevard, which is listed as a minor arterial in the Lincoln Transportation plans. The plan for the home would be to include an 800 square foot addition to the rear of the home. So it'll be set back behind the front elevation. That will include a new deck and add 2 bedrooms to the home. It also expand the living and the dining area. But it still, with the addition in the back, preserves the home-like character of the space, which is central to the Legato living model that my clients will be using for the residents. With the addition, then there would be a total of 6 bedrooms. The request would permit up to 12 residents, but their operational model at this point would be for 10. The plan, you can see I've sort of highlighted what's being added. So we've got the addition. There will be a small amount of pavement added to allow some additional parking spaces, again, basically behind the parking spaces that are already existing there in front of the residents. There is an existing sidewalks on the front of the home, but that will be redone with a wider sidewalk and the ability to make it handicap accessible and have 0 entry into the home. The plan already included some parking stalls, and so with the addition of the pavement, that allows an additional 3 stalls to be added, one of which is a handicap accessible van stall. Let's show a couple pictures regarding sort of the front facade. It's too small or too big?
There is a zoom feature on that.
I
if you
did, and then
want
I
to.
think it might zoom a little too much.
Yeah.
Well, we'll try it like this. So the top picture is the existing home, right? And you're kind of looking at it, what, south to southeast maybe. So you can see this is where the parking spots are, kind of an existing fence there. And then with the addition, it'll basically be just right behind where the existing home is. So they're able to sort of maintain the same roof line of the home, and then the additional parking stalls would be just right beside. So then if we put our site plan back up. You can see there'll be some additional sidewalk that'll be redone. And new fence. We didn't highlight the new fence that will be put in to replace where the existing fence is today. I think we had one other picture of the front of the home. This is just a proposed rendering of their vision for the house, which could include potential for repainting it more of a white to be more in keeping with some of the houses that have been modernized in the area. And addition of just a small porch feature on there. And then you can see the replacement of the sidewalk would be in the front. So really, the improvements that are being done don't really change the front entrance to the home from what you see as you're driving by on Cotner Boulevard. I think the last thing, if you look in pink, there's already an existing privacy fence that runs around the majority of the yard. That will stay in place, as well as all of the landscaping that exists and trees that exist on the site. So all of the proposed additions that are being shown on this site, the addition, the deck, the additional parking, these are all things that are already permitted in the R1. If that single-family homeowner wanted to go in and obtain a building permit, they could do all of these things by right just by grabbing a building permit, do the addition, do the additional parking on their property. I think kind of the concluding thing is both the size and the scope of what they're doing for additions here really are still in keeping with the neighborhood that's surrounding. If you look within even a 1-block radius of this home, you'll find homes that are bigger, homes that are smaller. You'll find homes that have this much pavement, some have less, others have more. So they're not doing anything that really would change the character of the home as a residential home. The use is consistent with and supports the goals of the comprehensive plan by providing senior care, housing choices for our community, handicapped accessibility, and it really will allow seniors to remain in a residential setting and be part of the community. Planning Commission and Council have approved at least 3 similar healthcare facilities in our city that have been integrated into their existing neighborhoods and seem to be operating fine. I'm going to go ahead and let Travis talk to you a little bit, tell you a little bit more about Kindred Oaks and their vision, and maybe some of the things that have been done in response to neighbor concerns. And then when he's done, I want to talk just a little bit about the motion to amend that I've submitted and again, how we've addressed a couple of the neighborhood concerns. So I'll let Travis talk, and then we'll finish up and be available for questions.
Hello. Thanks for your time today. As stated, my wife and I, along with the Vosses, have partnered to bring residential memory care in Lincoln. We have family members that have been living with dementia. After struggles of finding proper care in different facilities, we finally found Legato Living, where we have family today. We were immediately impressed with the model, of the level of care they receive, and the expertise of the employees. Therefore, we decided with the Vosses that we wanted to offer this to others and not have them go through what we went through until we found this option. We have partnered with the Legato Living franchise because we believe strongly in their approach and training and the ongoing education for employees. Ultimately, quality care is our priority, and we're committed to implementing that with the most current methods, technologies available. And we think we can do that with Legato Living as backing us. I wanted to talk a little bit about the care model overall, just so you have an idea of what it is. But it's residential memory care for individuals living with dementia. Each home typically is 8 to 12 residents and located in a residential neighborhood. We maintain a staffing ratio from 4 to 1 to 3 to 1, somewhere in between there. And that's to ensure residents receive appropriate care, attention, and safety. This small home model is a proven alternative to larger institutional facilities, and because we have witnessed it firsthand. Additionally, this type of model is already operating successfully in Lincoln neighborhoods, as Danae mentioned, without issues. So, next, I just want to walk through some key points on parking and traffic, because that seemed to be a big thing from the opposition, and kind of walk through a typical week of how many visits you would see from some of these things. So. The largest number of staff we'll have on site is 3 shifts, and the staff remain on site during the duration of their shift. Shifts are also staggered to avoid multiple staff arriving or leaving simultaneously, and that also supports our consistent communication and our continuity care model. So they do a 12-hour shift, 6, 7, and 8:30. So a person would come at 6 a.m., relieving the person that came there at 6 the night before. Same at 7 a.m. And then at 8:30, there's an extra person on during the daytime. At 8:30 that night, that person leaves, and it's 2 people again. But does that make sense from a shift standpoint? None of the residents have vehicles, so there's no parking issues for that. Our deliveries are comparable to those of a typical household, small-scale deliveries for groceries and household deliveries, such as Walmart or similar service. Typically, they do a big order for food on Friday. It gets delivered on the weekend. Same with household supplies. And then there's probably another delivery somewhere during the week for things that were forgotten or just missed. So 2 to 3 a week on that. Hospice. Nurses will visit occasionally, generally between 9 and 4 in the afternoon. And that's during the weekdays, and typically it's 1 to 2 times a week, depending on the residents, if there's more hospice, less hospice, and so on. They will have home health care visits. This is typically only at the beginning from a new resident, because typically they phase out of that PTOT after a while. So, but that could be typically 1 to 2 visits per week as well, just to give you an idea. Then we have family visits. Again, family does visit, but it occurs a lot less than we would hope for. But that is typically early evening, call it 5:30 to 7, and on the weekends. So it's outside of the hospice nurses, et cetera. Some of the outliers, just to be full transparency, so not on a weekly basis or scheduled, but there would be tours. So for new residents, one of us owners would be there giving people tours for future residents. And then there could be some medical equipment delivery for hospice, or maybe beds or something like that that's delivered if it's needed for the hospice residents. So I guess lastly, and I know Danae's going to talk about this, but well, there was a concern of turning this into some type of different home in the future. That is not our intent, so we work with Danae to work some language so that if it does ever, if we're gone or someone tries to change it, it has to come back and do this so that the neighbors can feel confident that it's not going to turn into something else other than this, so.
You're fading out
Sorry, which part didn't you hear?
towards the very end.
Oh, I just said we worked with NA to put some language in the special use permit so that it cannot be anything different than what we're using it for. If it does, it has to come back for this special permit approval again, so.
So there you go. That's a great segue back into me, and then we'll wrap up here. So you will, there are really two things I think that have been done since Planning Commission to try to address some of the neighbor concerns that they heard at the Planning Commission. One was there's been an additional parking stall added. So there's a total of 6 on-site parking stalls, one of which is a larger handicap accessible van space for parking on site, right? The minimum required is 5, and they've added an additional one so that there'll be 6 available. The other thing that we've done is you'll have in your packet a motion to amend, I believe. And what we've requested is some additional language to be added to that motion to amend that would specifically limit this special permit for residential healthcare facility to assisted living and or memory care. We're basically mirroring the same language that we put in the special permit requirements for 3737 Calvert, so that if you can't come in and because it's already a residential healthcare facility, change it to some other category of residential healthcare facility. It has to stay assisted living memory care. If it would change, that would require a change to the special permit, and they would have to come back in and reapply for a change to the special permit. So the bosses and clients had made that commitment in front of the Planning Commission that they would put a restriction, and so we moved forward and actually put the motion to amend together for you, so you've got it in your packet. I think at this stage, we believe the facility would provide a much-needed service in Lincoln for our vulnerable seniors, be an asset to our community, and fulfill many of the goals that are set forth in our comprehensive plan, while still preserving the character of the residential neighborhood. And Travis and I would be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Are there any questions from council for the applicants? Councilwoman Washington.
Thank you, Chair Weber, and thank you for coming down today. I've gotten a few calls and emails, and I just wanted to follow up with a couple of questions. For starters, the addition you made with the amendment, holding it as memory care. Thank you. Does this also allow for a future owner to turn it back into a single-family home?
Yeah, I think they could do that without a special permit.
All right.
I'm not even sure, depending if they wanted to make interior changes, that would probably take a building permit, but they wouldn't have to do anything through the special permit process.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's good. Thank you. Let's see. Wow, there's so many questions here. So there's been some concerns about whether or not the parking really is enough parking. And I know that you just added a space. Thank you so much for that. Can you talk a little bit about sort of like how the visitations and stuff work? I mean, I think I understand the deliveries. You're only having, you say, a couple a week on deliveries and things like that. And certainly understand that hospice is perhaps infrequent, but can you talk a little bit about family visits and family events or something you might have for the holidays?
Yeah, so from a family visit standpoint, again, there's not a lot of visitors that, which is unfortunate, but they're not a lot. And the time they actually visit, since typically the residents aren't verbal, is shorter than you would typically see at a senior living home. I can tell you from experience, we've been visiting one in Omaha many times, and typically we're one of the only cars in the parking lot in the evening. So I can just tell you from experience, I know we've been told that, visitors are infrequent, but I can tell you firsthand from our experience that it's fairly infrequent,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And can you tell me a little bit about on-site management and management oversight? It looks like you all live in Lincoln. I mean, live in Omaha, the owners?
We actually live in between Lincoln and Omaha, but closer to Omaha.
Okay.
But we would have a manager administrator that helps manage everything. But Like I said, in the Planning Commission, you would probably see one of us here once a week, making sure that, again, priority care is what we feel is the key to this, and we would want to make sure that that's always happening. So, and the best way to do that is to actually be there. So,
Thank you.
And I think that was one of the things that attracted you guys to the Legato living model, right? Was the expertise and that comes with being part of that organization.
Okay.
Councilman Duden?
Yeah, thanks. Chair. Why did you widen the sidewalk that's out front?
currently it's cracked and kind of separates and goes around. It's not very wide, and it's busted up today.
How wide is it now, and how wide are you going to have it?
It's probably no more than 3 feet wide today. It kind of separates. It's not zero entry, so we would actually, it's a slight elevation that we would do so you can make it zero entry.
People not use the sidewalks that are out front?
For the front of the house, it's usable, yeah.
How wide is it?
Less than 3 feet, and then, like I said, it separates. It goes around some
How wide is a
landscaping.
wheelchair?
Huh?
How wide is a wheelchair?
Less than 3 feet.
Motorized wheelchair?
Less than 3 feet. I don't know the exact dimensions, but
I'm just kind of concerned about that and the proximity it is to the street. It's right on the edge of the curb.
you mean
Tom,
this?
you're
You're talking about the sidewalk in front of the house or the sidewalk on
The sidewalk
the street?
right in front of the house that they're replacing, or the sidewalk along
I noticed that
Cotner?
you said that you're widening the sidewalk in front of the house to
Yes.
make it ADA compliant.
Yeah.
Well, to make it, yeah, zero entry, yeah.
But yet the sidewalk in front of the house next to the street is only 3 foot, and it looks like it's narrower than that.
Ye- Yeah, we wouldn't have anybody up by the street. We were talking about the sidewalk right next to the house going to the front door.
So you wouldn't have any visitors walking on that sidewalk?
Most of our visitors, again, we feel like based on the amount of visitors we have and the amount of deliveries and visits we have, that the property will accommodate with those parking spots.
They'll be parking on site and accessing the home from the site, not necessarily.
Well, even when you have a shift change,
Mhm.
you have 2 vehicles to fit in one spot, correct?
Oh, you have you have one person that's going to leave, and you have one person coming. Yes.
Yeah. Well, usually the person comes there, don't they, while the other person is still there on shift?
Yeah. Yep.
Correct,
So they can't occupy the same spot.
right. We
Yeah.
have,
2 cars.
But with all these parking spots, and it's 6, 7, and 8:30, there would be no visitors or hospice or anything happening at that time.
so there's 6 parking stalls on site to easily make that transition.
I hope that answered your question.
All right, thank you, Councilman. Do any other members of council have questions for the applicant? Councilman Bowers?
Can you talk a little bit about the demand for memory care in Lincoln and what this is filling in our city and meeting needs?
Well, number one, I'll just start with the choice, a diversity of care, right? So, and I think that's part of the impetus for the other homes that have already been approved, right? Is that there is a need for different types of patients with dementia to have smaller healthcare settings. And so what this does is meet that need for those who maybe aren't as successful in a larger facility. Many people are successful, and thankfully, because that's where we can provide a lot of care too. But there's also a need for some individuals to be in the smaller home-like setting. And I think this type of model is what addresses that. I think the aging population shows a need for additional, care choices as our baby boomers continue to age. And I think maybe you guys have even done some market studies with Legato to determine sort of what's the need for the community.
Awesome. And so the minimum parking spots is 5, and so you're actually doing 6. So the city says you have to have 5 in order to get this approved, and you guys are actually going above and beyond for that.
Correct.
And I also want to say, I hear you on the family visitation. I worked at a nursing home throughout college as a CNA, and you're right. People don't visit their families as often as what we would like to think that our fellow humans do. And so I
And
just want to say
some of it, I think, that we've learned is some of our folks with memory care have different abilities to interact with folks who come to visit, right? And then some also have different behaviors with visitors. So it's a nice, long visit from family members is not always the most calming thing for a resident. So you're always balancing, you know, that,
For sure.
the patient's need with the family's need.
I know that there's a bunch of residents here to testify in opposition. But I just want to, I remember last time that this was coming up, there was one person that I had to explain to that, like, if you have Alzheimer's, you're probably not driving a car. You know what I mean? And I just, you know, this isn't a unique project. This isn't unusual. This is something that we've already approved 3 times. And so I'm excited to hear the opposition and hear the testimony. But thank you for the work that you're doing to provide a home-like environment for people in this difficult time.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions from council for the applicant? Alrighty,
Great,
seeing no
thank you.
questions, thank you. Would anyone from the public like to testify? You can come forward. And we will have,
I'm with them. Are you
Yeah.
on this for our side or?
Still applicant
opposing?
testimony.
oh, it's still applicant testimony? Okay. Yes, yeah,
Okay.
apology, yes. Yes, absolutely. Yes, yep.
Hi, my name is Tracy Klein. I live at 410 Madison Circle in Cedar Creek, Nebraska. Hopefully I can attest to a little bit of our actual why, and it comes from a deeply personal reason behind our passion for creating a small, high-quality memory care, because we've both experienced situations like that. Our motivation comes from walking alongside of our own loved ones through a journey with dementia. My parents, both mom and dad have dementia, and they live at a Legato Living in Bellevue. Like many families, we entrusted their care to a larger facility to start, hoping they would receive safety, compassion, and individualized care. Unfortunately, for the specific needs that my parents had, that was not our experience. Not to put any other facility down, but what my parents needed, we felt they were not kept safe. There were moments where they were not treated with dignity and the compassion that every adult deserves. Experienced this with 3 different facilities, and it became pretty heartbreaking, and we were at a point where we didn't know what to do with my parents. Everything changed when a hospice person sent us to the Legato Living. It was the first time that, leaving their home of 40 years, we saw a true compassion for a personal-centered care. Our loved ones didn't just receive care, they were feeling at home. Their dignity was restored, and our family found peace, or somewhat peace. But this last Saturday, my mom passed away after a long battle with dementia. What was special about Legato was that she was surrounded by all of our family, but she was surrounded by the caregivers from Legato. They held her hand, they held our hand through the sharing the grief, and at that point it was clear that this is not just a facility, but it was their home. They helped cook, they sat on the deck, they planted, helped plant flowers. It was a community built on love, respect, and human connection. My dad will continue to stay in this same space, and there was no greater comfort after seeing my mom, knowing that this is the place that he is truly known and cared for, and as he navigates the loss of his wife of 55 years. Because of these personal experiences, we just felt a deep responsibility to give back. Our goal is to create a home-like memory care residences in Lincoln that prioritize safety and individual care, a place where the residents are not seen as patients, but people with stories and families and lives worth honoring, a place that feels like home to them. We believe smaller intentional care environments can make a profound difference, not only for those living with memory care, but for the families also sharing that journey. So we just want to thank you for your time, and that's our true vision as we hope to just offer a more positive experience for others that have specific cares like my parents did.
Thank you. Are there any questions from council for this applicant? Councilman Bowers?
Did you say that your mother passed away Saturday?
Yeah.
I am so incredibly sorry for your
Thank you.
loss.
Thank you. They were it was help knowing they were in a very good place that loved and cared for them. So
That takes a lot of strength to come down and continue to share after painful loss. So
thank you.
I'm so sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council? Alrighty,
Okay,
thank you. Now, we will entertain testimony from the public. Those wishing to speak, we have 2 microphones. You can come down to one, and then whoever would like to speak next can stand at the other microphone.
And I have some handouts here. Thank you.
And then,
A little bit of latitude. When I practiced this, I was under 5 minutes, but if you can give me a little latitude in case I stray, because I am nervous as I'll get out.
no worries.
So,
And just start with your name and address.
Sure. So good afternoon, and thank you for your time today. I'm Julie Perez. I've lived at 920 Piedmont Road in Lincoln, Nebraska for 30 years. My husband Lance submitted this appeal. However, he's unable to attend because he's out of town on business. I am speaking in opposition. When we learned through a distributed notification letter from the potential owners that they had submitted an application to the City of Lincoln to obtain a special use permit to establish a home care facility for seniors who are living with Alzheimer's disease and other dementias, we weren't concerned. Upon receiving the Lincoln-Lancaster County Planning and Development notification letter, we became concerned about the request for this residential healthcare facility to house up to 12 residents. Based on the previous notification, we were not aware of the intention to increase the capacity of the existing home. I attended the Planning and Development hearing on March 18, 2026, and understand that the proposed use is permissible under the zoning code. I also understand that this was the Planning Commission's determination. I decided to compare existing Alzheimer's and dementia care properties in Lincoln to either validate or alleviate our concerns about the location for the proposed Legato Living facility. I focused on the Harbor Senior Care, which owns and operates 3 facilities in Lincoln. I drove past the 3 sites multiple times, as did my neighbors. We observed the use of available parking and counted the number of vehicles that were parked when we drove by. On Friday, April 18th, I submitted supporting documentation titled Site Comparisons containing additional details and photos of the sites. I developed the following exhibits based on the submitted document. All 3 properties are located on residential streets with 25-mile-per-hour speed limits. Let's see if this works. Okay. Okay, now how did you say I zoom in or out here? Here we go. The Harbor at Pinedale is a 6-unit facility with 6 on-site parking spaces. It is located on a cul-de-sac that provides additional overflow parking. The sidewalk is set back from the street. 9 vehicles, including 4 in the driveway and 5 on the cul-de-sac, were observed on one occasion. The Harbor at Prescott is a 12-unit facility with parking for up to 30 vehicles, including a former tennis court converted into a 12-vehicle parking lot. It is located at the intersection of 2 terminating streets and adjacent to a cul-de-sac. It also includes a circular drive and multiple parking areas. On Monday, April 13th, 11 vehicles were observed parked across the circular drive, driveway, rear lot, and street. The Harbor at Calvert is a 12-unit property with parking for 8 to 10 vehicles. It is located on a residential street with light traffic. It includes a driveway leading to parking pads and garages, as well as a circular drive. The sidewalk is set back from the street. 6 vehicles have been observed in exterior parking areas with additional capacity, likely in garages. Based on this comparison, my concerns regarding parking and traffic impacts are reinforced. The proposed Legacy Living site is on a minor arterial road with a posted speed limit of 35 miles per hour. It is planned as a 12-unit facility with parking for only, now it's 6 vehicles since that's been updated. On-street parking is not available. The nearest available on-street parking is located on Valley Road, requiring pedestrian access along a narrow, 3-foot wide, and in some cases it's as narrow as 2.5 feet because of the condition of the sidewalk. That is uneven and directly adjacent to the roadway with no buffer separating pedestrians from vehicular traffic. Across the independent metrics, Legato Living is consistently the worst fit for a residential assisted living facility. This is not a minor deviation, it is an outlier location. While the harbor properties function within low-intensity residential contexts that provide flexibility for parking, circulation, and pedestrian safety, the proposed Legato Living site combines significantly reduced parking supply with a high-speed arterial location and no supporting infrastructure for overflow or safe pedestrian access. The comparison demonstrates that the proposed site lacks the physical capacity and surrounding conditions necessary to support similar operations without creating spillover effects and safety concerns. Based on the comparison of the proposed Legato Living facility to the Harbor Senior Care Facility sites, I urge you to deny special permit 26008.
Thank you, Ms. Perez, and that is time. Does council have any questions for Ms. Perez? Councilman Duden?
I noticed in these exhibits that you gave us, the estimated 24-hour traffic is 5,000 vehicles plus. And that was from the year of 2021.
That is correct.
So that's 5-year-old data.
It is. That's as recent as we could get. We got that from the online site.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Ms. Perez? Councilwoman Washington?
Hi, thank you for coming down. Can you, just for comparison, do you have any traffic counts for the other locations?
They did not have well, I'm sorry. The location at Calvert was 1,600, and that was last done in 2002. So we don't have anything for these particular locations. They're on cul-de-sacs.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Ms. Perez from council? Alrighty, thank you for your
Great.
testimony.
Thank you so much for your time.
If the next speaker would like to come forward to the microphone, and again, we're going to try to stick to the 5-minute limit as best we can.
My name's Jason Luss. I live at 5440 Valley Road. I live at the corner of Valley and Cotner. I butt up on the south property to the proposed site. I've lived there for almost 20 years, so I feel like I have probably anybody in this room the best understanding of that property plus that corner that we feel would cause issues. So I just want to paint a little more of the dynamic of the corner with the traffic counts, etc. I'm sure any of you up here, if business was going to get located next to your residence, you'd have a little concern. Obviously, we all did. That's why we're here. But I'm also realistic. I would give that business a chance if it took care of the property, mowed the yard, painted, maintained their customers or clients, et cetera, but also that they would take the burden of the parking for their business on their property and not push it off into the residents. And that's the concern of pretty much everybody here. That extra parking gets pushed to the corner of Valley and Cotner. And I brought this picture because you can see the corner. You can also see the accident that happened. This was recent. This was actually when I was talking to my neighbor across the street about this, and we got the letter from the Planning Commission. If you guys look, you have better data than I do. If you look, there's 3 to 5 probably accidents at this intersection every year. That's without people consistently parking at that corner. So you guys had it in your packets. This is the traffic counts. If you look at the highlighted section here, that's Valley Road. So that's not Cotner, that's Valley Road. 2021 LTU data carries on average 700 cars going on Valley Road. That's Valley, that's not Cotner. This is the same data. You guys had it. It's the highlighted section. Cotner carries 5,000 a day. This is not, to your question, what is the difference between these and the other locations? It's the site, it's this location is not in a true residential neighborhood on cul-de-sacs with dead ends with light traffic. This is a lot of traffic. So when you look at how do you do the zoom? Ooh.
You got it.
Hopefully you can see that.
Mm-hmm.
So the proposed site is right here. You have Valley Road going here. You have Cotner going here. So this section here is carrying 700 plus every day. This section here is carrying 5,000. Okay, as you can see, this little car right here, that's a blind spot coming around to this corner. The picture I just showed you with the ambulance in it, that's where the accidents happen. And that's with very little parking there. If you park a car there consistently, it becomes a one lane going across. Now there's hesitation to get across that intersection, which makes it more dangerous. So if you look at that, that's the traffic counts. Valley Road's 22 feet wide. This isn't South or East Lincoln with big streets where you can get multiple cars through. One car parked there makes it a one lane road. The sidewalks, if they park down there, that's a 3-foot sidewalk. There's a marked crosswalk right here. This is where the students at Leffler that need to go to Leffler, they're walking. That's their only crosswalk to get across Cotner between A Street and Randolph. So it's a very busy intersection. That's the differentiation to some of the other ones that are in town that don't have this congestion. The site, 12 people. Obviously you heard some of the data. We're seeing 8 to 10 to 12 cars at those other sites with a similar 12 to 14 beds. They have six spots. Where do the other ones go? What happens when it's an emergency? What happens when it's end of life? Where are all these cars going to go? They're going to go right down here and cause congestion at an already busy, dangerous intersection. So, it's not just one. I've lived here for 20 years. I can show you picture after picture of that intersection. And I'm all about the business, but they need to be able to take that burden on them from parking. They need to add more parking. Most of these other sites have a circle drive, but to push the parking down onto a busy street and put the burden on the residents, the students that are walking. I mean, ask LFR what it's like to drive through our streets 22 foot wide when there's cars parked there. It becomes very, very difficult. So I just ask the question.
Thank you, and
for
thank you.
additional parking.
Yep.
And why does it need to be 12 and why not 6?
And
that would take care of some of the
thank
parking.
you. That is time. Thank you. Appreciate it. Are there any questions for the testifier? Councilman Duden.
Sir, you've lived there for 20, 22 years, something like
20
that?
years.
Where do you see the kids walking when you see them walking to school to Millard Leffler?
Where do I see them walking?
Are they walking in the street?
Well, some come down the sidewalk in front of the houses. Then they come across, because Pink Sisters is at the one corner. They'll come, if they live in East Ridge, there's a sidewalk that's offset from the street. They come across the crosswalk.
So Hughes Valley from the East Ridge neighborhood to get to Millard Leffler, it comes down Valley.
Yep, that's why I wanted to show the 56, the valley that you could see. That's the cut through for anybody in East Ridge to get to Leffler's. They have to weave through there. That's the one crosswalk that's between, either that I have to walk to Randolph or they got to go to A. That's the one place to get across Cotner.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions from council? Alrighty, thank you. Yep. The next testifier can come forward, and if you'd just like to start with your name and address.
Thank you. I would, and I also represent the 78 objectors, so I would ask for a half a minute to a minute leeway.
We will stick to the 5 minute.
All right. I don't think that's fair with what's at stake here. I really don't.
Proceed.
So my name is Jeff Peets. I'm a 26-year resident, homeowner in Piedmont neighborhood. I reside at 940 Piedmont. I'm here to object and in essence represent the 78 people who have signed an objection. I hope that you've all read the objection and looked at it. It was in your packet. It's my understanding. A curious person should ask, why did so many residents in the neighborhood object? The answer is simple. It's based upon their personal experience and daily observations. They recognize that the location of the business and its scope for the specific location is inappropriate and dangerous. This is why in a relatively short time period, in perhaps 2 days, we were able to get 78 people objected. If we had had more time, you probably would have had everybody in Piedmont. One of the comments earlier was that the facilities, larger facilities don't care. We took a little bit of objection to that. Tabitha is a great facility. It's one of the gems for Lincoln. 22 facilities, plus it has several other homes in that Tabitha campus that provide memory care. So we do think it's a much needed facility. We're not fighting about the amended application and the permissive use for a residential area. We understand that's part of the city code. And we acknowledge there's a need for memory care facilities. The question is this an appropriate facility? At the Planning Commission, I talked about five of my neighbors within 500 feet had dementia and Alzheimer's. And you know, they're not here today. But I'll tell you what, in Piedmont, we took care of those people. We watched over them. When they were lost, we looked for them, okay? So we know there's a need, but it's just an inappropriate facility. The reality is with Cotner, and your statistics, is they're dated. What do we have now? You've had, since we've taken your COVID money, you've now had major constructions at 56th, 48th, 40th, and 33rd Street. Today, as we speak here today, 48th and 56th are impeded in traffic. So we have what you have is a mess. And if any of you would go to that facility, if any of you would go to that corner that we're talking about, more people at rush hour, more people go 50 miles an hour than they do 35 miles an hour. It's dangerous. I've seen people I've seen kids, I've seen people have to scurry across the street. When you have icy streets in the winter, it's horrible. One of the other areas that you have is you have the Thomas Harvett, who's a neighbor, so you can give it credibility as what it wants, but he's a neighbor with 27 years experience, and he basically says he didn't think that the parking was appropriate for the other reasons that people have had here. The previous testimony needs no further elaboration. You know, with that, we would ask that you really seriously consider the unique facts of this situation. This facility is much different than the other three that you've passed. We're not saying it's a bad facility. We're not saying anything about Harbor. What we're saying is it's not the right location. With this, I would ask that you deny the application. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Alrighty, thank you. Are there any questions from council for the testifier? Seeing none, thank you. The next testifier can come forward, and if you'd like to start with your name and address.
Thank you. Members of the City Council and Chair, my name is John Thomas, and I live at 960 South Cotner Boulevard, diagonally across the street from 929 South Cotner. My wife and I have lived there for 14 years. We're at the northeast corner of Cotner and Valley Road. I'm opposed to the development of Legato Healthcare Facility that was approved by the Planning Committee as SP 26008. At first, the idea seemed great. I thought, who would not be in favor of an upscale health facility in an idyllic setting for Alzheimer's and other seniors with dementia? The residence is currently a mid-century ranch style with very nice details: compact backyard, open kitchen, detached garage, studio space, workspace, finished basement with a fireplace that matches the fireplace on the main floor. It had appeal and was selected by Legato for obvious reasons. Almost all of the great qualities of the house and the lot, however, have to be altered or changed in order to comply with needs of the healthcare facility. The character, use, and appeal of the house will be changed drastically. After my initial consideration, more and more issues presented themselves. I started thinking about the numbers. Things didn't add up. As a matter of fact, they actually added up and multiplied. The average number of persons in a single-family home in Lincoln is 2.3, and that's with the latest census. The home at 929 South Cotner fits into the category of a single-family home. The proposal for Legato in Piedmont for 12 residents and 3 full-time staff, or 15 residents. If we make it simple by using 2.5 as the average number of people per household in the neighborhood, the proposed facility with 15 in residents would be 6 times that number. So I started thinking about food preparation because I like that. 2.5 persons in a household would eat 7.5 meals a day. That's a generous number, or 52 meals a week. The healthcare facility would provide 45 meals a day, or 350 meals per week. Those are not school lunches or lunches at the bistro or at Hy-Vee, where sometimes 2.5 people in a household would eat. But those are special diets and special needs. All of a sudden, the structure and needs of the house have changed. It will require commercial-sized stoves, refrigeration, dishwashing, and other appliances. This is not the kitchen of the single-family home in Piedmont. It all has to be altered and changed. 6 times the amount of food coming into the facility will require lots of traffic and special deliveries and entrances and exits. The footprint for deliveries will be larger than for a household of 2.5 persons. This illustration can be carried out to the trash pickup and recycling, all of which may be 6 times the average household. It gets complicated from there. Making a list of all the services provided by Legato will only get greater and certainly be more of an impact than 6 times the average household. The list of services is more extensive than just 6 times the amount of laundry, 6 times the number of primary care or other health care visits, 6 times the number of PT visits, audiology, podiatry, psychiatry, dental drugs, and the hospice, and the list goes on. All of this will require changes and adaptations to the current house. The footprint going from a single-family household to a healthcare facility is much greater than it first appears. I've not even mentioned one of the primary concerns of the patient, and that is house security. Access in and out multiple times a day requires tight security. The yard perimeter has to be altered and changed from what it is as a single household. In conclusion, 929 South Cotner Boulevard was selected to be a healthcare facility in large part because of its setting and the qualities of the house. It would not feel institutionalized, and that's great. It's a wonderful, well-maintained house. However, practically everything has to be altered or changed or added on to, and in fact lose its current appeal. The Legato project in the Piedmont neighborhood, as well-intentioned as it is much like jamming a square peg in a round hole.
Thank you.
It
And
would
that is
change
time.
everything. It is not compatible. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the testifier? Thank you. The next testifier can come forward, and you can start with your name and address.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Sarah Peets. I live at 940 Piedmont Road in Lincoln. I've lived in the Piedmont neighborhood for 26 years, and I am speaking in opposition to special permit 26008, allowing for a 12-person residential health care facility at 929 South Piedmont Road Boulevard. I would first like to recognize those in the audience that are opposed, and please stand if you would. Thank you. The residential lot is located on Cotner Boulevard, which is a heavily traveled minor arterial street running on a diagonal from northeast to southwest through the middle of Piedmont neighborhood. This particular block is anchored by 2 dangerous intersections, one at Valley Road and Cotner, which intersects 5 streets, and the other at Randolph Street and Cotner, which intersects 6 streets. This section of Cotner is made less safe by a blind sight curve in either direction. Narrow at-curb sidewalks along Cotner Boulevard further increase safety risks for both pedestrians and drivers. Allowing a business on this block of Cotner Boulevard will create greater stress on an already heavily used arterial street. I'm providing a page from our neighborhood newsletter called the Piedmont Periodical. Piedmont neighborhood residents deal with the ongoing challenge of parking and safety issues, this neighborhood newsletter, published in March of this year, discusses parking and safety, emergency vehicle access, congestion, visibility for children walking and riding bikes in the neighborhood. This article demonstrates that our neighborhood is already experiencing safety risks due to high traffic volume and limited parking availability. Parking at 929 Cotner Boulevard is inadequate to support a 12-person residential healthcare facility and the parking demands of staff members, deliveries, medical services, home maintenance, visitors. With no parking allowed on Cotner Boulevard, parking will divert to Valley Road, which is already congested. Valley Road is the only east-west street extending all the way through the subdivision and the main path to Leffler Middle School. The safety issue is compounded by the number of children walking, riding bikes, and being driven to and from Leffler Middle School on the west end of Valley Road. The addition of a business along Cotner Boulevard will pose an even more dangerous environment for cars and pedestrians living in and traveling through the neighborhood. When comparing this location with 3 other similar residential healthcare facilities previously approved by the City Council, it's clear that 929 Cotner is an inappropriate and inadequate location for a facility of this nature. This location is on a heavily used minor arterial street. This location is on a street that does not allow parking. This location is on a lot that does not have adequate parking capacity and will put added pressure on side streets, which are already congested. Based on the testimony today opposing the 12-person residential healthcare facility to be located at 929 South Cotner, I urge you to deny the special permit 26008. Thank you.
Righty, thank you. Are there any questions for the testifier? Councilman Beckius.
Sarah, thank you so much for coming down. Appreciate it very much. Question I have for you, trying to balance a presumption that there's not enough parking with the additional presumption that additional parking will occur on Valley. The site is rather large and could accommodate more parking on site if that was desired, but it may not perhaps meet the desire of Piedmont residents to have more cars, more visible, what have you. Do you have any thoughts on that? I know you're not speaking for the neighborhood, only
Right.
for yourself. But just wanted to talk about, because I'm not opposed to requiring more on-site parking here if that was a solution.
If that would resolve the issues. I think that would be helpful. That's part of the problem, not enough parking. I think that the applicant is underestimating the parking needs for that commercial business. I think there will be visitors. It's in my experience with a mother who had dementia issues and friends who have had parents, family members with dementia issues, we were visiting a lot. So my experience wasn't that there wouldn't be a lot of visitors. I think there will be more visitors with traffic. I think they're underestimating the parking spaces. I also think that comparing the 3 locations that have been approved by the City Council for those facilities, in looking at them, and you have seen the pictures, there's a lot of parking, on-street parking with all those facilities. And I just think that's probably going to be more typical of this location too. Although we don't have on-street parking on Cotner, it's so busy, even egress and ingress to a facility or a home, a residence on Cotner is there are a lot of dangers involved there too, watching for traffic, blind curves. So I don't know if more parking spaces, I think it would be helpful, but I still feel like it's underestimating what the need is, what the use will be.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Alrighty, the next testifier can come up to the open microphone and you can start with your name and address.
Thank you. My name is Aaron Holtz and I live at 1000 Fall Creek Road. And I'm here to speak against the special permit application to allow a variance for a residential healthcare facility for 12 residents. However, let me state that I am not opposed to residential assisted living. And in fact, I'm not opposed to it at this location. So sorry to my neighbors who are. My main objection is scale. Why 12? Why not 6 to 8? Remember, this is a business that is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and it will require staffing 24 hours a day. A business model that can never close. That's a major change from an existing single-family home. So what is the right scale for this location? I'd encourage the planning committee to spend some time on YouTube. The assisted living business has dozens of videos that talk about the silver tsunami that is the latest real estate investment strategy and a key to financial freedom as an investor. It's the next boon quickly taking over storage facility investment. RAL investors have podcasts that place emphasis on profitability and financial freedom. Online videos from the Assisted Living Network and others extol the income from these properties. There are dozens of podcasts with titles like Secure Your Financial Freedom Forever, How This Doctor Built a 7-Figure Assisted Living Empire, Residential Zoning is Handcuffs for Your Profit, Go Beyond 6 Beds, Zoning Secrets for RAL Success, Finding Your Goldilocks, Optimal Bed Count for Assisted Living Success, Cracking the Zoning Code, Expanding Your Business Beyond 6 to 8 Beds, How to Convert a Home into a Memory Care Mansion. I'm not suggesting that Kindred Oaks doesn't have and want a good care facility. You can hear that in their testimony. I mean, that's real. But at an average of $5,000 per month per bed, an 8-bed property development will gross $480,000 per year. A 12-bed property will gross $720,000 per year. So a 12-unit RAL is not necessarily better for the residents, but it is more profitable for the real estate financial investment group. Let me ask, would you rather gross $500,000 a year on what was a former single-family home or closer to $750,000? We'd all say $750,000. And so the obvious request for this larger 12-bed variance. But the city really needs to be ready for more RAL properties, and they need to be thoughtful about their scale and impact. The silver tsunami that property investment companies will profit from is real, and there is very much a need for residential facilities that don't feel institutional. My mother's 87 and she has Alzheimer's. It's a horrible disease. We've looked at larger memory care facilities for her in Park Rapids, Minnesota, at a cost of as much as $10,000 to $14,000 per month. I would love to see a small residential facility near her at $5,000. So I don't think for a minute they were not without need, but I would ask the city to plan with safety, scale, and history in mind. A 6 to 8 unit property on an arterial road that makes far more sense than a 12-unit property. A 6 to 8 unit property with 2 staff is fitting to the scale of a residential community. To permit a 12-bed unit, I can't help but think that we are ignoring a committed existing community and saying that scale, safety, and history are less important than ensuring maximum profitability for a property investment company new to the neighborhood and asking for a major zoning variance. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any questions for the testifier? Alrighty, thank you. The next testifier can come up to the open microphone and, yeah, whichever one you'd prefer, and yeah. And you can just start with your name and address.
My name is Julie Thomas. I live at 960 South Cotner Boulevard, Lincoln, Nebraska, and I did not sign the sheet, but when my neighbor put up a map, it occurred to me that I want to make a remark. Am I okay?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to put the map down here, but I have no idea.
You're fine. Just wait
It'll
for
turn on.
Viola.
And so, I can make that. Actually, it might be easier over here. So this is the neighborhood map that my neighbor shared, and he was talking about accidents at this intersection of Valley Road and Cotner Boulevard. I live in this lot, and this is the corner where those accidents pile up. So across the street in this direction, this lot right here is the Holy Spirit Adoration Sisters. It occurred to me as I wrote the letter to you that is in your packets that they must have applied at one point in time for a similar kind of permit. This home that they live in was once the bishop's home, and he gave it to the sisters, and now they live in that home. That population varies from 8 to 12. These are contemplative nuns who don't drive themselves. They're elderly. Unfortunately, there are not very many women who want to enter the convent and not talk to anybody, just pray all day. That's not so fashionable anymore. But these lovely ladies, the population has varied from 8 to 12 in the 14 years that I've lived in my home. But I volunteer at that church. So I'm on and off this property every day. This property is about 4 acres. My property is 0.95 here. So this is 3 to 4 acres. There's entrance on and off Cotner. There is an opening off of Valley, but it's not used. An opening off of 56th Street and an opening onto what is where Cotner in this direction becomes Crestwood. So there are multiple entrances and exits, and those are primarily beneficial for the people who are coming to and from the church. That's the second building that was built after the nuns moved into that home. But the in and out and the life experiences of those nuns, they have people who come to transport them to medical visits. They have volunteers who come to help with preparing meals, with cleaning the facilities. It is not noticeable. There's parking, so there are vehicles parked there, but there's quite a lot of parking space. So I'm looking at this space for those 8 nuns and this space for 12 Alzheimer's memory challenged residents. It's about physical space, and it's about how that space can provide for the coming and going of the residents. That's very different. I wanted to be able to show you the map.
Mm-hmm.
Questions?
Alrighty, thank you so much. Are there any questions for the testifier? Seeing no questions, thank you. Is there anyone else from the public who wishes to testify on this item? Anyone else from the public? Alrighty, seeing that there is no one else from the public who wishes to testify on this item, I will entertain a 10-minute recess, or Councilman Beckius.
Would it be okay if I ask us a couple of staff questions before we move to recess by chance?
Yeah,
Yes,
if there's no
please.
objections, yeah, absolutely.
Sorry.
Yes,
I have staff
absolutely.
questions
Yes,
as well.
absolutely. Yep.
Could I see Director Carey, please? Thank you, Chair.
David Carey, Director of the Planning and Development Services Department, 555 South 10th Street. And I'll point out, just because I know there's some interest in a certain area of topic, that Director Elliott is here from LTU as well.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Director.
Councilman
thank
Beckius
you.
is recognized.
Director Carey, could you walk us through, for folks maybe listening at home or here today, could you walk us through the special permit process and what that looks like in terms of an applicant going through that process, what they may need to meet in order to achieve the goal of effectuating a special permit? Could you also discuss the applicant's proposal to limit the special permit? And then if for some reason something wasn't being met with the terms of the special permit were not being met, what recourse would there be available?
Sure, I can do that. So the special permit process, it's established in our code for certain types of uses. So there isn't a special permit for every type of use, but in this case, For residential healthcare, that we have one specifically spelled out. And I can kind of maybe just walk through a little bit of what that entails. Typically, obviously, there's an application that comes in and the staff will review it. The types of facilities that fall under residential healthcare facility for a special permit include assisted living, nursing care, memory care, convalescence home, hospice home, group home for 16 or more people, and intermediate care. It may include independent living units, and there's a possibility of other types of related uses that could fall underneath the special permit as well. In this case, the request is specific to memory care. That process that comes through us, we review it. We have a staff report that's provided as part of the packet for this. And then these types of applications go to the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission takes action on this. And in this case, and in the case of many special permits, that is considered final action unless appealed to the City Council. In this case, obviously, it was appealed to the City Council. That's why we're having a hearing today, and that's part of the process that's available to the community. I'll speak to kind of the way that this type of special permit is set up is that it's based on a person that could live in the residence for this use is at 3,000 square feet per lot area is what the standard is. That would allow typically 8 persons in this case for this lot. It's a fairly large lot. Part of the application for this applicant was to request a 50% more than that, up to 12. So that is what's under consideration today. So that was part of the application. Another part that we include in what's required is a certain level of parking that's required based on the number of residents as well as the highest shift for employees. In this case, that would require the 5 parking spaces that the applicant went through and showed were available. So that is something that we make sure is accommodated based on the request and based on the site plan. So all of that is kind of how this works. And then when it is appealed, we do bring it to the City Council. We're here today for that purpose. The motion to amend that has been provided by the applicant that would limit the use here to only memory care use. That is another example of something that has been provided in another residential health care site in the community recently. So that is something that the staff supports in this case. That, to be clear, would follow with the property. So if the property were to be sold, that property has that regulation on it if it were to be approved as part of an action. So just to be clear that does not go away if the property is sold. The new property owner either could use it as a single-family property, or they would have to abide by that limitation for the home health care use.
And then, Director Carey, let's say a subsequent owner decided to purchase the property and run a boarding house, for example. Could you discuss what the recourse would be in terms of that particular use given this special permit?
Sure. If a new owner wanted to do something that is not allowed under this special permit, either they would have to apply for a new allowance, a new submittal to make a zoning change effectively and go through a process like we're going through today, or if they started to use the house for a use that's not allowed, based on a complaint basis, that there would be a site visit and we would find out what was happening there, and then they would be cited for that. And then usually in that type of situation, oftentimes that kicks into gear the process to have them actually apply for what they want to do. Not knowing exactly what that scenario might include, our recommendation may be for approval or denial, and then we go through the process accordingly.
Thank you, Director Carey. Sure. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilman Beckius. Do any members of council have questions for Director Carey? Councilwoman Washington.
Thank you, Director Carey. Thanks for that information. There are a lot of issues that have been brought up by folks in opposition, and I appreciate what you just said about the process and the parking. But I have a couple of questions because as noted, there are 3 other facilities in town that have, in the last 4 or 5 years, gotten approval. And my memory is such that I remember one coming before council, but the other 2, I don't believe came before council. They went to the planning commission. And I'm just curious, one of them has 6 persons, so I think that there was no reason for them to come before council. I mean, it wasn't appealed, but they fell within the limitations of 8, so at 6. And then the one on Prescott, I don't remember seeing that one at council. When I looked back, it looked like they just settled at planning commission, and it wasn't appealed to us. Is that your memory, if you can remember 100,000 special permits that have come? I'm sorry.
That is my memory. I don't think I'm going to speak to the specifics of those applications and approvals, but that is my memory that 2 of them were not appealed to the city council, 1 was.
Okay. And they've also brought up that that this neighborhood, that Piedmont, they keep talking about the Piedmont redevelopment plan from 2014, and I went back to look at that, and it looks like it deals primarily with the retail area, the shopping area, but they do talk about historic building styles and sort of the historic nature of the Piedmont neighborhood. Is that neighborhood a designated historic district?
That is a great question, and to make sure I don't give you incorrect information, I'm going to find out about that. I don't know that off the top of my head. You are correct that the redevelopment plan was focused on the commercial area and the subsequent upgrade of that commercial area as a result of that redevelopment plan.
All right, thank you. Let's see. And then because parking is been, I think, the primary issue, parking and traffic safety, the primary issues, I am curious. I noticed on the site plan that was initially provided, and then comments from your division came in from building and safety. It's a 2-stall garage on site, but only 1 space in the garage is permitted for parking. And I think it has to do with how close it is to the side yard setback. And I was just wondering if there's a way to get to yes on that second spot inside the garage in order to provide more on-site parking. I'm not asking you to solve the problem right now, but if you thought there might be an avenue that could be pursued to get to yes, I think having additional parking could help to alleviate some of the concerns.
Yeah, we'd certainly be open to try to find a solution for the further use of that garage. I don't have the particulars of how that would work right now, but something that we could talk about. And just based, with that in mind, I think that there is, we would be willing to talk about any number of parking solutions that might come up.
Okay. And then I know that there are design standards for neighborhoods. Some neighborhoods have design standards, and I didn't know if Piedmont had design standards.
Yeah, so the neighborhood design standards are based on the 1952 city limits, I believe.
1952.
So there's
okay.
With my follow-up answer to the other question about historic neighborhood, I can confirm or not that this falls into that.
Okay.
But if it did, any construction would come under review of that, so that would be part of a building permit process.
And I think that if our chairman has his way, we're going to take a short break, so you'd have some time maybe.
I'm going to make an effort to get that answer.
And I can withhold my questions to Director Elliott if you'd like to proceed with the break.
Yeah, or Councilman Bowers.
Yeah, I just had one question. I was looking over the notes from the Planning Commission, and it looked like that Callahan said that by right, the property could be converted into a duplex. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So it could be converted into a duplex without coming in front of council, and by its own decision, could essentially separate it into a 2-family property.
Yes, so the lot is large enough to be a 2-family home, and so there would still likely need to be building permits issued and approved, things like that. But yes, we would consider a by right opportunity for that lot to be able to do duplex, and then we would have effectively 2 families living there, and therefore upwards of 20 trips a day would be expected for that type of an operation.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Are there any other questions for Director Carey from council? And I would defer to council if we want to continue staff questions.
I do not have any questions for Director Elliott.
I do.
I do.
All right. Let's continue with staff questions, and then we will entertain a 10-minute break in which then afterwards the applicant will have the ability to rebuttal, and we will continue on to the next public hearing item for those who are not as familiar with our council agendas. Councilman Duden, you are recognized for your questions with Director Elliott.
Yeah, Liz, my question basically is there a more current traffic count for Cotner?
There's not. So we don't do traffic counts every year. On certain roads, we do them about every 3 to 5, and North Cotner, Cotner is one that we do about every 3 to 5 years. We did it in 2015, 2018, and 2021. As mentioned earlier, there is construction, so we try not to do it when we have construction on nearby streets, because that will give an incorrect count, because those are temporary changes on that. So we have not done one in the last couple years. But I do have the counts on that. The counts are showing significant declines, again, absent construction on nearby streets. In 2018, so if we're looking from 48th Street to A, and then A to Valley, and Valley to Randolph, all 3 of those segments counts are going down. 2018, we were looking at about 9,200 average daily traffic. In 2021, it was down to 7,000. That's the 48th Street. A to Valley, it was about 8,600 trips a day, down to 5,100 in 2021. About 7,500 on Valley to Randolph in 2018, down to about 5,000 in 2021. Again, we haven't done them in the last years just because we do know construction nearby will change that temporarily.
How about 56th Street, which is just about a half a block away? I know that was studied because of concerns from Eastridge parents that wanted a crosswalk light.
We do have those. I don't have those numbers here. Obviously, 56 is a major arterial, so that is going to be a much higher count. Cotner is a minor arterial, which basically connects the collector streets to arterial streets, and so they're higher than residential, but they're much lower than arterial street counts. So I don't have the specific 56 streets. I can guarantee you it's much higher. But as for Cotner, we do know that we are seeing a decrease absent the construction periods.
Any other questions?
No, thank you.
Alrighty, Councilwoman Washington.
Thank you, Mr. Weber. Director Elliott. Okay, so let's walk through a little bit on the issues they brought up. So they brought up that traffic is moving faster on Cotner. It's a minor arterial. The crosswalk just south of Valley has blind corners leading up to it, and I was curious if the Safe Routes to Schools program had assessed that route to school to Leffler from Eastridge, and if they had made any recommendations.
So actually, this area, that specific crosswalk that you're talking about, is actually not part of our designed walk route to Leffler. We actually have a different route that we recommend individuals to take. We do have assessments. Obviously, there are standard requirements at any intersection. It doesn't matter where it's at for those site obstructions. This particular intersection is clear of site obstructions. There is in accordance with Lincoln Municipal Code. I was just double checking that the existing signed and marked crosswalk is not part of the designed and designated route for Leffler Middle School. And generally, signing along Cotner does include that is properly posted. So we're not seeing anything in this area that has any concerns. There should be sufficient site visibility in this area. This one is not part of the routes to school.
Interesting fact, and you might remember this from the Piedmont street rehab project that we have. In this area, dating back to those early 1940, 50 standards, they did park curbs. And so they're not really sidewalks, they're actually extensions of the curb. And back in the day, because the streets were more narrow, people would park half of their car up on these park curbs and then the rest in the streets. So they're not, that's why they are that's in some points less than 3 feet wide, because they're actually not sidewalks. So that is partly taken into account during our safe routes to school assessments and those analysis that we make.
Yeah. Well, thank you for bringing up the park curbs, because I know you and I've had a conversation about park curbs in the past, and it's nice to have that clarified again, that they weren't designed to be sidewalks. So that's interesting. So on Valley, there was some concern that there would be parked cars along Valley. I took the opportunity to drive around this block a number of times this weekend and earlier this morning, and found parked cars on Valley on Sunday and this morning. And I was wondering at what point, whether it's accidents or at what point would the city look at posting no parking on Valley?
Yes, we look at a number of different factors. So we do look at the crash data, and the crash data at Cotner and Valley. So in 2026, obviously we're only a few months into it, we've had 1 crash. 25, we had 3 crashes. 24, we had 3 crashes. 23, 1, and then 22, we had 2. Now these are reported crashes, so if there is an accident that no one reported to LPD, we wouldn't have it, but generally all crashes are reported. So that's pretty average for many intersections similar to this nature, so that we don't consider that a high volume of crashes in this area. So that's one thing we look at. The other thing with parking on streets is a natural traffic mitigator. It slows people down. It actually creates typically safer environments, because people are having to drive slower because the road is much more narrow. If we were to remove traffic, I would anticipate and plan on speeds increasing, because they're going to have a wider space. It's going to feel like they can just move and step on the gas. So by keeping the parking on the street, we do that as often as we can in residential neighborhoods, because more often than not, the complaints that we hear in residential neighborhoods are the speeding. We have kids playing, we don't want them to do it, we want to bring those speeds down. So we often encourage, most of the time, every situation is a little different, but in this particular case, this would be one we would want to maintain street parking as much as possible until we started to see significant changes in that crash data in this area.
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right. Are there any other questions for Director Elliott from Council?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a 10-minute recess.
Agreed.
So moved.
Alrighty. Second.
Second.
All those in favor of a 10-minute recess say aye.
Aye.
Alrighty. We are in recess. applicant for a rebuttal. Are there any other questions for staff at this time from council? Alrighty, then I would offer an opportunity to rebuttal for the applicants.
Throw our site plan back up here again, just so we've. So we heard a lot about parking, and we heard a lot about kind of the fit and the scale. So I just want to reiterate a little bit kind of on the fit and the scale, and we made some comments early on that, you know, with what's being added to this home, really the size and the scale of the home totally fits within the character of the neighborhood. If you pull up a lot of the homes around it, many of them have small additions that have been added to their homes over the years, right? And with the square footage of this home, we're kind of right about in the middle of the sizes of homes in the neighborhood. So I really think character-wise, we're really keeping the character of the residence with the addition coming behind it and keeping basically the front facade the way it is. With respect to the parking, I think Travis had done a pretty good job of kind of giving you the day-to-day on the parking. I think we can never say that there won't need to be parking off-site. We can say that Valley Road would not be the only option for off-site parking for this area if it was needed. There's also Fairdale up to the north. From Fairdale, you have a very nice visibility of the traffic light, so when it's stopped there, there's no traffic coming, easy to make the turn and come down. There's also parking back here, so Valley Road would not be the only opportunity. And people who might off-site park and come to the site are going to use, they're going to walk there the same way that residents in this neighborhood walk. I don't know that necessarily creates any additional unsafe conditions. I think we went back and took a look at the parking, right? So I think there is opportunity on the site to add additional parking. Currently, right now, the driveway is about 20 feet wide, so there's significant width for maneuverability and frankly, area even to park if you had extra people coming on. You have the garage here. There was a space right here that wasn't allowed to be a legal parking spot, but there is room, you know, behind the garage. So there is additional room on the site to park if there are additional cars. But I think the applicant has expressed a willingness to add. They've got the ability to add additional parking stalls. And I think they have the willingness to add a couple additional parking stalls on there that would only help the situation that's perceived to be out there. But we really think, I think with that parking that's by already adding the additional stall and two more, that there would be very, very rare circumstances where we wouldn't be able to park the people that need to be on site. And if we can't, then we're like a lot of other, you know, residents in the neighborhood that have a few people over for company and somebody has to park on the street and walk in. I don't think it'll be anything out of character from any other residential neighbor in the neighborhood. And I think Travis and I would both be happy to answer, you know, any other questions that you might have.
Yes.
Alrighty. Are there any questions from council for the applicants? Councilman Bowers.
So you said that you'd be willing to add some additional parking spaces?
Yes.
Okay. And one other question that just escaped my head. Probably wasn't that important then anyways. All right, thank you so much. And no, I appreciate the willingness and hearing from, you know, residents and whatnot. You know, I think that we do have minimums for, you know, a reason, right? To help guide and to be consistent, not only for people that are trying to bring things into the neighborhoods, but then also for neighbors to know what minimums they can expect. And if neighbors want to see that minimum increase, then, you know, they can lobby to make those changes. So I appreciate, you know, your willingness to be able to do this and be responsive to the neighborhood's feedback, especially when you're not mandated to do so by city code and you're doing it because you want to be a good neighbor.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for the applicants? Alrighty.
Great.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
Any questions for staff? Alrighty. Then we are able to move on to the next item. And we'll give some time for our chair to return. Should someone go get him?
Should I? Here.
What?
Voting.
Be watching us.
We have 4B.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize,
Yep,
Chair.
no worries.
I'm sorry.
We will vote on the resolutions after item 4B.
Thank you, Councilman. All right, next up, 4B.
Approving an interlocal agreement between the City of Lincoln and the Omaha Council Bluffs Metropolitan Area Planning Agency for professional aerial mapping products and services.
Very important.
Welcome.
Hi, Chair Carlson, City Council. My name is Craig Gifford. I'm with the Information Services Department. I manage the GIS Division of Information Services. This is an interlocal agreement. Abby Latrone and City Law just recommend we do an interlocal agreement to approve this. We've done different tools, but we've been a partner or I guess a participant with MAPA, the Metropolitan Area Planning Agency, to do multiple counties and LPS NRD flying for aerial imagery as a joint effort. We do it for cost savings, and each county can have, there's like Lancaster County does a 3-inch, and aerial imagery is real valuable, not only just to the assessor and the city agencies, and it's all of Lancaster County that we're flying, and we take care of the infrastructure and system for all of the GIS for Lancaster County. And so this is to fly the aerial imagery. We refresh it every other year, keeps a current enough imagery so that for all the business and uses that we use it for. So are there any questions?
Council, any questions? No, pretty
All right.
straightforward. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you very
Thank
much.
Are there any members of the public like comment on item 4B? If so, please come forward now. Seeing none, we can proceed.
We can now vote on these items. I will call item 4A. Appeal by Lancy Perez, approval of special permit 26008, allowing a residential health care facility for up to 12 residents at 929 South Cotner Boulevard. Introduced by Bowers.
So moved. Second.
Seconded by Beckius. Councilman Beckius, you are recognized.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to introduce a motion to amend number 1. This motion is to limit specifically the permitted uses to assisted living and/or memory care, exclusive of all other subcategories of residential health care, as had been previously mentioned by the applicant and discussed at the Planning Commission as well. And this was distributed to all council members before today's meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Shob. Any discussion? Council, on the motion to amend number 1, Councilwoman Washington, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to thank the applicant for adding the extra space in the side and on the side of the house there. Even though it was only 5 required, you went ahead and added the 6th space. Thank you.
That is a good preview, I think, to our next amendment. Any other discussion on motion to amend number 1? Alrighty, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Beckius,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Duden,
No.
Shob.
Yes.
Motion carried, 6-1.
Ready, Councilman Beckius.
Yes, fellow council members, I would.
Oh, 5-1.
Excuse me, 5-1.
Very good. Okay. Sorry, council members. I also wanted to introduce a motion to amend number 2 for bill number 26R-162, introduced on April 13th, 2026. This is not a written motion to amend, and my apologies, although I think I've spoken to all of you, except for I think Mr. Dune. My apologies, Tom. I haven't gotten an opportunity to talk to you about this, and I apologize. I did discuss with the applicant the
Concerns of the
my
residents?
desire for them to add 2 additional parking spaces there on site. The applicant, that's coming from the feedback received by the neighborhood. It's within the right of the council via the special permitting process to amend and ask for those things. The applicant agreed to add 2 additional parking spots on site, which Danae referenced during her discussion, and that's the motion that I'm putting in front of all of us, would be to increase the number of required parking stalls from 6 to 8.
Is there a second for this motion?
I will second that motion.
Seconded by Shob. Any further discussion on motion to amend number 2? Councilwoman?
She did a thumbs up. I thought she did it.
Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Beckius,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Duden,
No.
Schob,
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Motion carried 5-1.
And now we're back to the main motion. Any discussion? The main motion has been seconded, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is there any discussion on the main motion? Councilwoman Washington, you're recognized.
Thank you very much. First, I want to thank everyone who came down to testify today, all of your letters, the research that you did, the emails, the phone calls. And I want to thank the applicant for coming forward with a proposal which I think our community needs, which is more residential care for dementia patients that's done in a small way, because as noted, though Tabitha and other facilities here in Lincoln that provide dementia care have done a good job, a large community is not always the right community for our family members. And I think we all can understand how this is an issue that seems to be growing in occurrence. I think all of us, I know I have, and I think there are many of us here who have done the journey alongside family members with dementia, and I think it takes all kinds of housing and medical care to get them through. I also recognize that this is an allowable use in a residential neighborhood. It's a situation that's been set up by Lincoln for quite some time, and we have some other examples of facilities where it has already been approved. Some obtain the special permit by right. They're not looking for any additional changes in the side. Some have asked for additions, and not all of those have come before council because they're not all appealed. In this situation, thank you for appealing, because that's your right to appeal and have us look at the issue again. I've heard that you care desperately about public safety, and so do I. I think that making certain that we have enough parking spaces available for the staffing and for the visitors on site is important. I'm also going to note that in an area where you have a duplex allowable by right that would have 2 families, that would estimate out at about 20 trips a day. And my situation is not the situation on Cotner, but when I count the deliveries that I get in a week's time and the number of trips that come out of my household, I am the person who leaves the house 4 times a day and creates a lot more trips. But it is pretty typical for a regular house to have 10 trips a day, even if you only have 2.5 people in the house. And certainly those numbers have gone down, but there are plenty of families in Lincoln that have 5 and 6 members who live in the house. And I would just note that multiple trips a day doesn't make it unsafe or make it untenable for the neighborhood. It just means it's busy. And this driveway is so wide that there is a possibility for folks who have pulled into parking spaces to back out toward the garage and enter the traffic on Cotner face first. And I think that makes it safer, and I'm hoping that everybody who pulls into that driveway takes advantage of that and drives forward into Cotner. because it is important that we maintain public safety, and I think we have good ways to address that should the accident count at that intersection become greater. It was a nice learning to find out that on-street parking slows traffic down. So for all of these reasons, because there is a community need, because it is already allowed by the way that we do our special permitting, and because they have shown a real desire to address neighborhood issues by increasing the parking on site, thus lessening the need for parking on the street, I will be voting in favor of this permit.
Alrighty, thank you. Are there any other discussions from council? Councilman Duden, you're recognized.
Appreciate it, Weber. I want to make a comment because I voted against the facility on Calvert Street in comparison to where this is going to be located at. I just see this facility as being unsafe for people that kind of push a wheelchair to that location from one of the side streets. I think it will be almost an impossibility to do. I think it will be extremely unsafe for that. I'm concerned about the safety as well. People backing out of those parking stalls and into the neighbor's lot that seems to be really close to the edge of that driveway surface area as well. I just don't see it as the ideal facility. And I appreciate the fact that these other facilities that are on cul-de-sacs and what have you have located themselves in places where they don't have to fight with 5,000 vehicles driving by on Cotner Boulevard, for an example. So I just don't think it's the right fit for this facility, and because of that, I'll be voting against it.
Alrighty, thank you, Councilman Duden. Any further discussion? Councilman Bowers, you're recognized.
You know, I would like to say, as someone who I think probably has the most experience pushing a wheelchair with my mom in the back there, I appreciate the concern about the wheelchair safety, but I just can't help but be reminded to 2 years ago when we were voting to put more money into sidewalk repairs to make them more accessible and more safe, and that was not a unanimous vote, even though safety for wheelchair users was a main push of that. So that's just kind of ringing in my head about consistency in our values and how we're voting. I also want to, be grounded in what's allowable here. This is a 6-bedroom home, which is way more than the 2.5, typical traditional, I can't remember what gentleman said that, 2.5 folks that live in a house. This is a 6-bedroom house, which means that like me, my mom, my brother, his wife, his daughter, my favorite uncle and his wife could all live there and still have rooms left over. But even more than that, what's already allowed on this property is that this could be sold to a developer, converted into a duplex by right, which could mean 2-family households, multiple drivers, teenagers, renters, and guests, which would generate more consistent traffic and parking demand than what's being proposed here. So I think when we say that we don't want this to be here, it's be careful what you wish for, because something else could go in there, which means that there would be more traffic, more drivers, and more activity going in there than a residential memory home where the residents don't drive and activity is limited to staff and visitors and deliveries. And also, more importantly, a business model that defines success on being a good neighbor, maintaining a home, providing a home-like environment, fitting into the neighborhood, and operating in a way that doesn't create disruption. I think that would be a better neighbor for you and more in line with what you might want than some potential outcomes that could exist. I know that might not be a popular viewpoint, but I'm going to be voting in support of this. Sorry for folks who may be disappointed in that, but that's where I'm landing.
Thank you, Councilman Bowers. Is there any other discussion from council? Seeing no further discussion, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Beckius,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Duden,
No.
Schob,
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Motion carried 5-1.
Alrighty, and we can proceed once Councilman or Chair Carlson returns.
So yes, as amended. Thank you, Mr. Beckius. You we ever get our answer on historical districts?
There's not a historical district. Yeah,
Surprised by that.
they didn't apply.
Welcome back. I missed you.
Thanks, it's good to be back. We are on
4B.
4B still.
so-
Okay, good deal, you're right.
I did.
I'll
All
call,
right.
I got you. Yep. Oh, I'm sorry. You're not using that one, are you?
Yeah, that's all right.
I'll call item 4B.
There we go.
Okay. Approving an interlocal agreement between the City of Lincoln and the Omaha Council Bluffs Metropolitan Area Planning Agency for professional aerial mapping products and services, introduced by Bowers.
So moved.
Second?
Second by Washington. Any discussion on this? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Washington,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. That concludes section 4. Section 5 is public hearing ordinances, second reading, and related resolutions. I'll call item 5A. Item 5A is text amendment 26005, request of the Planning and Development Services Department to amend Lincoln Municipal Code, section 27.72.120, accessory buildings to allow accessory buildings in the AGR Agricultural Residential District to be located in the side yard up to 5 feet from the side lot line.
Welcome.
David Carey, Director of the Planning and Development Services Department, 555 South 10th Street. Thank you for a little bit of time today. So this item that's up for your consideration and action next week is really meant to provide some more flexibility for our AGR district. So typically these lots are about 3 acres in size. They are largely found inside our 3-mile extraterritorial jurisdiction. And the request came in to provide some more flexibility for where accessory buildings could be located, and this would allow them to be as close as 5 feet to the property line. Right now, there are limitations on how close to the property line, side yard property line that they can be in. We are in support of this. It provides some more opportunities in some particular situations where it might be very useful to be able to do that. And then also just note that this did have public hearing at the Planning Commission. No one was there to testify in opposition, and then the Planning Commission did approve this unanimously. So with that, I'll see if there are any questions.
Council, any questions? Councilman Beck, yes.
One quick question, Director Carey, did you work on this alone, or do we have planning staff here that worked on this as well?
I do not have the planning staff here that worked on this directly.
Okay, very good. I didn't know for sure if we needed to make any sort of introductions for planning staffers here at all. So, okay, never mind. Thank you.
Maybe the next one.
Okay, great. I didn't know for sure. I just want to make sure that people...
And to be clear, I'm here. I actually am speaking on behalf of the applicant. I didn't see the applicant here to speak to this. So
okay, thank you.
All right. Is there any member? I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions for Director Carey? Is there any member of the public like to comment on this item 5A? If so, please come forward now. Seeing none, we can go and proceed.
I'll call item 5B through 5E together. Item 5B through 5E is text amendment 26004, request of the Planning and Development Services Department to amend Lincoln Municipal Code, Chapter 14.50, sidewalk cafes, to update regulations for sidewalk cafes in the public right-of-way. Request of Planning and Development Services Department to amend Lincoln Municipal Code, Chapter 5.04, alcoholic liquor, to update regulations for sidewalk cafes in the public right-of-way. Request of the Planning and Development Services Department to amend Lincoln Municipal Code, Section 27.62.110, food and drink establishments use group, to remove the requirement that restaurants in the O1 districts be located within a building containing office or residential uses. And the request of Planning and Development Services Department to amend Title I, General Provisions of the Design Standards by amending Chapter 1.00, Request for Waiver, Procedure, Section 2, Procedure by amending Paragraph 2.5, Lincoln Downtown, South Haymarket Neighborhood, and Accessory Dwelling Design Standards to add Sidewalk Cafe Design Standards, and by amending Title 3, Design Standards for Zoning Regulations to add a new Chapter 3.78 to adopt the Sidewalk Cafe Design Standards.
All right. Director.
thank you, Sony. David Carey, Director of the Planning and Development Services Department, 555 South 10th Street. Thank you for some time today to talk to you about this proposal. I am pleased and excited to be here to discuss with you updates to our Sidewalk Cafe regulations. But I want to preface this conversation and going through what this proposal includes, and obviously provide some information about what it entails and answer any of your questions. But what this is really about is building the quality of life that we enjoy here in Lincoln. This is about supporting and providing flexibility and options and new opportunities for our restaurant scene and our bar scene. That is really the heart of this, and we really want to make sure that we're doing what we can to enter into partnership with our business community and those operators of those businesses in our business districts to try to make sure that they have what they need to be successful. And really what we're talking about here is providing more clarity, more flexibility, being more helpful, and allowing more creativity for our sidewalk cafes. And so what I wanted to preface all of this information, and there is a lot of it, with that kind of perspective on kind of how we were thinking about this as we went into this work. And I will also say from the outset that a lot of people worked a lot on this. I have Arvind here from the planning department. He was the primary person in working on the design features of what is being proposed, and several other members of staff from several departments. And I don't want to be, I want to call out the city attorney's staff for doing the work as well on the alcohol regulation side of this, that's what they're primary on that, and they were very helpful to get us this package together. So with all that in mind, what I would propose to do is I'm going to provide an image to start with here on the overhead and give it a chance to come up. And really what this image is meant to do is to provide some perspective on kind of what our sidewalk cafes can and perhaps should look like. This is not an example in our community today, but what this represents is kind of the idea behind some of these new proposals, including flexibility as well as a push towards higher design. And so I think that we want to have that perspective that we can accomplish a lot of things, and it is important what our public spaces look like, especially when they're being used for sidewalk cafes. So that is really just meant to kind of set the stage as we think about this and as we discuss this topic. So I appreciate that. What I'll do, we have 4 specific items. I'm going to walk through each one, kind of at an overview of each one and see what the questions and the comments might come. So what I'll start with is what is 5B on the agenda today. That is the first set of text amendments, and that is with Chapter 14.5. And that's where the existing rules for sidewalk cafes exist today. And the main things to think about here is that what we are proposing that is updated and different is to kind of identify that Planning and Development Services will be the administrator of the program, that we will receive applications, we will review them. There's a lot of interaction with the city clerk still for the purpose of getting these things on the books. And there's also interactions with the city attorney's office because there still is a requirement to have a liquor license, and sidewalk cafes do require that still. But the Planning and Development Services Department will be the lead on the review and the process to provide approvals for any applications for sidewalk cafes. We will continue to use what is called the Sidewalk Cafe Review Committee, and that includes the Health Department, Planning, the City Clerk's Office, LTU, Lincoln Police Department, Urban Development, and the Fire Prevention Bureau. That committee already does work on this. They review it, make sure that we're abiding by the regulations, make sure that if there's some unique factor involved in some design that we are considering that and trying to find a solve for that and get to a yes. We also are creating an opportunity for an administrative approval. We're setting this up now so that if an application is abiding by all of the rules, that can be approved by the planning director. So that is something that we don't allow for today, but it's something that hopefully a lot of our applications are accomplish that, and we can get things done quicker. We also are suggesting for your consideration and approval a requirement that we're not bolting our barriers to the pavement anymore. And that will require some new use of different types of equipment for new installations for sidewalk cafes. And really the point there is to make sure that we're maintaining the integrity of the pavement. And a lot of that discussion came out of the significant investment we're putting into the O Street project and the Music District in downtown. There's an opportunity to help those existing sidewalk cafes in those areas to do something, replace what they have, as well as start to not bolt into our brand new pavement. So it's something that we wanted to put in this proposal. And we also are not requiring barriers for sidewalk cafes any longer under this proposal if they are not selling alcohol. So there are sidewalk cafes that do not involve alcohol, mainly places that are serving like sandwich shops and things like that. With all that in mind, we have also, in this effort, created a new guidebook. And this will be available, be available online, obviously. But we are making sure that this is a user-friendly summary of what these requirements entail, what the process is required. And it's been set up to allow for an applicant to kind of have something to look at, hopefully better understand what the process is, and then probably create the best questions that they would have for staff so that we can get things answered quickly and get them through the process as quickly as possible. So that is a part of this effort that has happened over the last several months, and we feel very good about that. It's a nicely laid out document. 5C on the agenda today is the second text amendment, and that is for Chapter 5.04. This is the chapter in our existing chapter in our code that addresses the alcohol provisions for the city. And in particular, this is just the changes proposed are meant to align this chapter with the changes that we're proposing in relations to sidewalk cafes. So I'll walk through that fairly quickly here just to make sure it's on the record and we can see if there's any questions. We are allowing flexibility. This is one of the bigger changes, allow flexibilities for cafes to be away from the building structure. In other words, separate from the building out by the curb potentially. That is not currently allowed. And within that context of what we're proposing, again, that provides some of that flexibility that we're looking for businesses and operators. We have communicated with the State Liquor Control Commission. We've had a good conversation with the staff as well as actually present this information to the commission itself. So we are in alignment there. Obviously, every single one of these still has to be approved by the Liquor Commission. So there may be site-specific questions that arise, but in a general sense, we have provided this information and confident that we are going to be able to move forward with these proposals as they have been provided. For those locations that are selling alcohol, they would still be required to provide a barrier. But again, this new language emphasizes or makes the changes that they are not to be bolted into the pavement. And then, again, I'll just reiterate that an operator in a business still has to get a liquor license through the state for a sidewalk cafe, so that does not change. Item 5D on your agenda is the text amendment for the O1 district, and I'll throw up a map for reference so that we can understand what this change means. And what we're doing here is we are specifically in the text for the O1 district, and what's on the map here once it starts to pop up, what is in the blue-green shading is the O1 district that's here in downtown. O1 is largely along Lincoln Mall, and then on the front of immediately to the north of the Capitol, and then there is some to the east as well. What this change is doing, it currently requires that a restaurant in the O1 district be located in a building containing office or residential uses. So what we're doing is updating that to not have this artificial requirement that it be in a building. So we want to be very clear that they can have sidewalk cafes. And so that is, again, the providing more opportunity, more flexibility for those locations that are basically in our downtown as well. So that is what that proposal is for. And then item 5E on your agenda today is the final text amendment that is for the design standards portion of our regulations related to sidewalk cafes. And this is where a lot of the, obviously it's reflecting what is in the other chapters as well, but this is where the design standards start to provide some of that more information about how to do this and what you can and can't do. And it's reflected a lot in that guidebook as well. So between the design standards as well as the guidebook, that's where a lot of people are going to be looking to those sources for information and guidance. At this time, I'd like to show a couple examples of what we're saying is allowed and how it works, and then we'll see if there's any questions. And before I throw up some of these examples visually on the overhead, I want to be clear that this proposal was reviewed by the Capital Environments Commission, the Urban Design Committee, the Historic Preservation Commission, and the Planning Commission all approved or recommended approval and supported this proposal and this package. So we particularly wanted to make sure that all of our committees were aware of this, as well as commenting on it before it got to you. And again, I want to thank staff from several departments for the work that went into this. So this first overhead here is showing sidewalk cafe types that are allowed under this proposal. These are in particular, these are examples where alcohol would not be sold. And so the reason why that's important is because we're not showing any barriers per se in these images. The yellow is considered the pedestrian space that needs to be continuous, at least a 5-foot wide continuous pedestrian way next to any kind of sidewalk cafe. So that just indicates kind of, depending on the width of the sidewalk, you have to make sure that you're accommodating that in all situations. But we have various different ways of trying to allow for this to occur, up to and including having an agreement with a neighboring property to expand it if there's actually an agreement that's notarized and in writing. So that is showing out by the curbside as well. And again, these are examples when alcohol is not being sold. This next set, not to your surprise, are examples where alcohol would be sold, and these are allowed under this proposal. So what we're showing here is some different ways to do the barriers. We want to be supportive of and allow for barriers beyond kind of your typical metal fence. And so this is indicative of those options. Planters are often a way to do that. That also can bring color into our downtown streetscape as well for these sidewalk cafes. We are certainly allowing for some heaters and lighting can occur as long as they abide by certain regulations for those things. And again, still providing for and making sure that that continuous passageway for pedestrians is accommodated for. So that is really just to give kind of the high overview of what all is included in this package. Again, we're excited to be able to bring this forward to you. I am very happy, as well as is Arvin, to answer any questions that you might have.
Council, what questions do we have? Councilwoman Washington.
My first comment is not a question, it is a thank you. I am thrilled to see the new standards, the guidebook, the design standards, and I'm thrilled to see planters within the allowable barriers and lots of different varieties. I think this is going to make downtown much more colorful and lively, and I hope it's a boon for business.
Thank you.
I did have a question. I know this is geared towards downtown and downtown businesses, but are there other areas or pockets of areas that would really be impacted by this that we could hope to see some development take place?
Thank you, and oversight in my overview. So the sidewalk cafes are allowed in all the B business districts. So B1, B2, B3, B4, B5. So basically, wherever there is commercial and there is an opportunity to have a sidewalk cafe, these regulations and rules and opportunities would apply. So it's, you could think of almost any commercial area in the city. Yes, Union College area, College View, University Place. Those would be, some of those already exist there, by the way. But certainly these opportunities would be availed to them in the future. I'll stop there.
Yeah, that's great. That answers my question. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, there's always, there, especially those little pocket areas, like you could create an interesting place.
I think they have a little sidewalk.
They do.
Yeah. Great. Council, other questions? I'm sorry, Councilman Bowers.
Yeah, I just want to say, I think this is great because 5 years ago I brought forward and pushed forward the expansion of sidewalks, cafes in Lincoln, and at that time it wasn't something that the city was naturally moving towards, and it was a little bit of a battle to make sidewalk cafes more accessible downtown. So I'm glad to see that after that successful effort that we're continuing to move in that direction today and building on the foundation and continuing to make our city more active and walkable and supportive of small businesses who want this. So I'm glad to see we're continuing in that direction now.
Great.
Council, other questions? Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think I'll be glad just to hear that you're gonna get these applications, and we might not even have to.
So that is a real part of this, which is, it's, especially if we can make sure we're communicating what the requirements are. I think a lot of businesses will appreciate not having to take any additional steps or go through it faster. Absolutely.
That last step.
Yep. I will qualify that a little bit in saying that if there is a disagreement, there is an appeal process to the city council. Yeah. Right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there any member of the public who would like to comment on these items, 5B through 5E? If so, please come forward now. Seeing none, we can proceed.
That concludes the public hearing, ordinances, second reading, and related resolutions. We'll move on to section 6, which is resolutions, first readings, items 6A and 6B. Section 7 is ordinance, first reading, and related resolution is item 7A. And section 8 is our pending list, are items 8A through 8C.
Chair Carlson, I would move adjournment.
Second.
Second by Duden. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you all.